Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. If I said to you that this weekend we had a very, very good contest with a rather controversial ending, you'd think I was talking about Maurizio Lara stopping Leigh Wood in 7 rounds. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that was actually a lot better. Not that Wood and Lara wasn't bad. It was a very good fight. But this contest between Luis Nery and AZAT Hovannysyan of Armenia it might just end up being fight of the year. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We're only in February, of course, but what an incredible war this was between Crazy A, as he calls himself, Hovannysyan. I love that nickname, Crazy A, and Nery from Mexico. Terrific fight. I mean, this was a hell of a fight. It was on DAZN. Go have a look at it. In fact, the Leigh Wood-Lara fight was on DAZN. This was a major victory for DAZN this weekend because they had the Golden Boy card with Hovannysyan and Nery, and they had the Matchroom card with Leigh Wood and Lara. Both good cards, but both main events were absolutely fantastic. But this one, this is off the chart. I mean, go and have a look at it. You know, if you don't subscribe to DAZN, there was a lot of talk about DAZN. You know, how the fact that they've ramped up their monthly subscription to 20 quid in Britain. But if you pay £100 up front, you get it for, I think it works out at £8.33 or 35 a week. Well, if this is the content they're showing, £8.30 or whatever it is a bargain. Trust me, this is, and I have no vested interest in this. I just want to see good fights. I haven't got shares in DAZN or anything, but this was a fantastic weekend for DAZN, and what a brilliant main event. So you had Luis Nery, Mexican fighter who is 28 years old, came in with, I think, 33 wins, 1 defeat, 25 KOs. The 1 defeat was a body shot knockout against Brandon Figueroa, and that was in the 7th round back in 2021, I think it was. And since then, I mean, he's a southpaw, Nery. He also, I think he's beaten Juan Carlos Payano in 9 rounds. Joe Arroyo, that was a retirement. He won that retirement after 4 rounds. So the guy's got some pop. And against Hovannysyan, Hovannysyan came in with 21 wins with 17 KOs and 3 defeats, and all 3 defeats were on points. And he himself, you know, he hasn't really torn up any trees, but he lost to Ray Vargas back in 2018 on a 12-round unanimous decision, and he's beaten some sort of what you might call B minus fighters. Dagoberto Aguero, I think, was one. That was a 2nd round stoppage. That might have been his last fight, I think. But he's beaten some okay fighters. But the thing about Hovannysyan is he gives his all, and he is just a rough and tumble guy, orthodox fighter, 34 years old, so he's no spring chicken, whereas Nery's 28. But so you had the southpaw Nery, the taller fighter. You had Hovannysyan, shorter guy, but rough and tumble. Nery, you were thinking he's been stopped on a body punch. Hovannysyan likes a bit of body work. What's going to happen here? Hovannysyan, a pressure fighter. Can he get to Nery? And in the 1st round, they started as they meant to go on. Nery was by far the busier, trying to impose himself in the 1st round. He actually hit the floor. I think the feet got tangled. It wasn't a knockdown. Hovannysyan was just having a look at him, firing a few punches just to keep him honest. But in the 2nd round, Hovannysyan was cut, and it was above the eye, and it wasn't a major cut. It was controlled, but they started to really let the hands go, and Hovannysyan started to really put the heat on, ramp up the heat on Nery. Nery with his little Philly shell. Actually, Nery was in the 2nd round. Actually, I might be thinking of a different round, but in the 2nd round, Nery was letting his hands go. He had his little Philly shell going on there, and hands very, very low. Hovannysyan, I'd say from the 3rd round onwards, Hovannysyan starts to come back into it, lets his hands go an awful lot. Very, very aggressive. The straighter, cleaner punches are coming from Nery, whereas Hovannysyan fires punches in bunches. It's more attritional with Hovannysyan, a little bit less cultured. And I think after 6 rounds, and by the way, the blood was starting to flow from Hovannysyan. I think he had blood coming out of his mouth and his nose, as well as the cut over his eye. The cut was controlled. He also had a slight swelling over one of his eyes. but the blood was flowing, and it began to look like Hovhannissian was getting beaten up, although not necessarily beaten in the fight. After 6 rounds, I had Nery, I think it was 4-2 ahead. But then Hovhannissian took over in the middle rounds. There's no doubt about it. His work rate and the fact that he drew Nery into a phone booth fight, and he was landing a lot more punches than Nery. Nery was trying to keep it slick. His hands were too low. The little Philly shell thing went out the window. It was just a hands down style of boxing. Again, he was landing accurately with the straight punches, but he was just taking too much. And the body work from Hovhannissian was looking really, really good. It seemed to be draining Nery. And probably by rounds 8, 9, Nery was beginning to look a bit, not forlorn, but he was beginning to look like he was low on gas. But this was a great fight. Don't get me wrong, Nery wasn't flagging. I mean, he was firing punches back. He was catching Hovhannissian. But Hovhannissian in the middle rounds was on the ascendancy, no doubt about it. And then we got into the championship rounds. Nery was, he had, I think, swellings maybe slightly under the eye, but I don't think he was cut. There was certainly blood coming out of his mouth and his nose. Hovhannissian's face was a mask of blood. We get into the championship rounds. Hovhannissian, again, just putting the heat, constant water on rock, eroding Nery's resistance. And then in the 10th round, they were exchanging, Hovhannissian doing his usual high-octane work. A left hook from Nery up close, staggered Hovhannissian back to the ropes. He grinned at Nery, as if to say, yeah, you got me with that one. Nery stepped in, and when Hovhannissian was on the ropes, Nery fires a jab that puts Hovhannissian skids off the ropes and lands on his right-hand side. And gets up, the referee lets him continue, his face is chopped meat. Nery puts it on him, it's towards the end of the round, and Hovhannissian survives. Now in the 11th round, Hovhannissian comes out and he's winning the round. Again, it's this high-octane, high-volume, let your hands go, an awful lot of wide punches, pumping to the body as well. Even late in the fight, he was banging to the body. But you just felt Nery, if he can thread those straight punches through all this activity, it'll get him again. And he did. Actually, I say it was a straight punch. It might have been another left hook. I think it was another left hook that staggered Nery, that staggered Hovhannissian. Hovhannissian grinned as if to say, hey, you got me again. Nery followed up, looked to let his punches go. There was about a minute and a half, 20 seconds left in the round, I think it was. I can't remember the exact amount. But that was the end of it. The referee stepped in and rescued Hovhannissian, who, I mean, you could say it was it slightly early? Yeah, maybe a little bit, considering what had gone before, but I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Sergio Moro, who was commentating on the DAZN card, on the commentary there, he said, look, I'd like to have seen it gone maybe a little bit longer, and I kind of agreed. But there's no doubt that Hovhannissian, despite all his excellent work, was really shipping some heavy punishment, not in terms of volume, but in terms of quality. And all credit to Luis Nery for soaking up an awful lot of punishment in the mid-rounds, especially to the body. I mean, he was getting banged around left, right and centre. It was really quite shocking to see. But, I mean, I definitely had Hovhannissian winning the fight. Did I have him winning the fight? Did I have Nery 1 point ahead? I might have had, because of the knockdown, it might have been 1 point ahead, actually. Yeah, I think I might have had it. I think looking back, so I scored it as I watched it, and I didn't know the result. I think I had Nery 1 point ahead, but there was not much in it. There wasn't really much in it at all, and certainly Hovhannissian, until the knockdown in the 10th round, looked like he was on his way to a win. But all credit to Nery. I mean, both these guys are an absolute credit to themselves and the sport. Go and see this fight. It's on DAZN. Terrific tear-up. And yeah, let me know what you think of the fight. I mean, it was a great one. And it may, like I say, it may well end up as the best fight of the year. So yeah, tell me what you think. Comments below, I always like reading them. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, I'd appreciate that. And hit the like button if you like the video. Much appreciated. You're going to enjoy this fight if you ain't seen it. Go and have a look at it. We'll speak again soon. Well done, Luis Nery. Commiserations to Hovhannissian. He can come back. Cheers, lads and lasses. See you soon. Bye for now.